Welcome everybody. Thank you for joining us today. The webinar today is Get to Know Your Growth Hub. So it's a chance for you to hear about some of the programs, support, signposting that's available from the Growth Hub. And we've worked in partnership with Bed's Chamber. So we've got Justin from the Chamber joining us as well. And he's also going to talk about the offering that they can provide and sort of how that fits with us working together. And we've actually just launched a programme which we'll come on to a bit later, which we're working quite closely with the local authorities on. So just quickly before I hand over to Justin, I'll just run through a little bit of housekeeping. If you could mute while we're sort of delivering our presentations, that would be great. And then after each of our sections that we talk about, we'll pause just so if you want to ask any questions, you can do. You can, it's entirely up to you whether you want to come off of mute and just ask in the session, that's absolutely fine. Or if you want to pop it in the chat, that's also fine. I'll pop a little note so it flags up in a moment so you know where to find that. You can pop it in the chat and I'll pick it up on after the end of each of the sections. And then there'll be an opportunity again at the end for any questions that come up that you might forget about. And anything else that you want to ask. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce Justin. He is Chief Exec at Bed's Chamber of Commerce. So Justin, over to you while I just bring up your slides.
Thank you, Sam, and good morning, everyone. As Sam mentioned, yeah, I'm Justin. I'm Chief Exec of Bedfordshire Chamber of Commerce. And I thought I'd spend a few minutes today just to talk a bit about us as an organisation, our relationship with SEMLEP and the Growth Hub, and one of the new projects that we've just been successfully won. So yeah, without further ado, Sam, if you don't mind moving on, I'll talk a bit about us. So as an organisation, we have just over 700 members that employ around about 55,000 people in the region. Sometimes the membership number sort of skews the amount of support we work with businesses in the area. So in the last year, on top of those members, we've worked with just over, well, it was 2,100 businesses as well. And support lies in three main areas, I guess. So we see ourselves as a platform for businesses and people to connect and hopefully work together. A mechanism for collaboration, so not just business to business, but for key stakeholders in the area. And around that, we look to help shape the place. And that could be on a wide range of areas, from skills to challenges for businesses and giving the business community a voice. Our membership is from sole traders all the way up to multinationals like Vauxhall's, Lockheed Martin's and the airport itself. But our key and core membership, as you can imagine, are SMEs. And as you see, just over 3/4 of our membership base is made up from small, medium enterprises. We have, broadly speaking, 3 categories within membership and types of business. A third of them are engineering and manufacturing, again, probably due to our geographical location. Another third are business services, so that could be accountants, marketing, solicitors, and the other third, effectively, everything in between. It's a fairly wide-ranging membership, and one of the key things I think, talking about an ecosystem of support locally, is those companies within our network are civic-minded. So a number of people will always give support to other members where needed. They'll also give them the time of day regarding to introductions and connections. So it's a vibrant network, and that's one of the things that we really pride ourselves on as an organisation. In the last few years, we started to record the member-to-member connections and referrals that we make. And that could be from someone getting in touch saying, I need a new website, or I'm looking at, I've got to a stage in my business and I'm not sure how to get to the next level of growth. Can you help? And in the last 3 years, even with a pandemic, we touch on between 550 and 600 member-to-member referrals within the network. So a fairly vibrant and positive network that people are really keen to get involved and give back in certain respects. One of the other things we do as an organisation, and something I'll touch on a bit later on the slides, is global trade. So we help around just under 200 businesses in the area export goods, about £100 million worth of goods to anywhere in the world, realistically. That's had some issues since Brexit, as you can imagine, and there's been a number of challenges in the first part of this year particularly. So now in the past it was the rest of the world, now it's the whole of the world where we don't have a free trade agreement. And there's always some confusion around Brexit that we have a free trade agreement. In reality, that's only the truth if you make your goods in the UK. For those that are importing and exporting into Europe or for the rest of the world, there's been some challenges around getting those goods across, and the tariffs on top of that, there have been a major cost and challenge for businesses. So that's a bit about us as an organisation. Sam, if you would like to move on for the next slide. Our relationship with SEMLEP's been a long-standing partnership. We've worked together on numerous forums, boards, stakeholder groups, and really looking at a wide range of subjects where we can affect the place that we all do business in. For us, Bedfordshire, for SEMLEP, a wider region. And you can see from the slides that those subjects cover everything from skills, economic recovery, to the Oxford-Cambridge Arc and inward investment. So a fairly broad brush for us as two organisations on the remit, but with the vision, I guess, to make our region the best place to work and do business and, of course, live. And more recently, we've worked with the Growth Hub on some business support programmes. So we've had some velocity business support in a fairly distant past. This year, again, we worked together on providing some real specialist Brexit support and advice for businesses in the area. And now we're again working with the local authorities, at the moment Central Bedfordshire Council and Luton Borough Council, but hopefully soon Bedford Council, on a range of business support programmes. What you can see on there, it says ARG. Just to clarify, that's an additional restrictions grant, and that's a grant that was given to local authorities to help support businesses during the pandemic. And within that, there was an element of business support. So ourselves and SEMLEP have been working tirelessly over the last year to really extract the best outcomes for businesses. And that's not just handing out cash to those that have been most impacted, but now formulating a business support program that can make a real difference to the area. So that's us and our relationship and our partnership working with SEMLEP. And Sam, if you can move on, I'll just again briefly touch on the the global trade support program. Now, I believe in the area there's around about 9 different support programs that have come from ARG. Our one, as you can imagine, is focused purely on international trade. And that support ranges from those businesses that have never considered exporting for the first time. So we can help with looking at the issues that may exist for them. It can be internationalising their website. It can be looking at finance reviews to mitigate any risks during the consideration of exporting. Again, exploring new markets. So that could be for those that are currently exporting, but looking maybe beyond the EU now because of the challenges that currently exist with trading with Europe, and there might be opportunities elsewhere. So there's some support around that. Again, another one, overcoming barriers to trade. So we're seeing a number of businesses that are struggling with really specialist advice around things like that and other areas. So again, there's free to access support from our team or our team of specialist advisors that we have and partners that are working in these certain areas. And finally, at the beginning of next year, January, February and March, we are looking to run some virtual trade missions. So we'll be picking some regions across the globe and leveraging our international network so we can start showcasing Bedfordshire as a place to do business, the inward investment opportunities that exist, and look at international meet the buyer type sessions where we can connect businesses in South East Asia to companies in Bedfordshire, and again, North America and probably the Middle East. And now this support isn't purely based on you have to be a manufacturer and you have to be shipping physical goods. We've seen recently a member that we've connected with Malaysian Chamber of Commerce is they are STEM training specialists, and some of the local authorities out there in Malaysia and local government are looking to introduce STEM training into their schools. So they were looking for British expertise in this area where we could export that IP for those organisations. So it's not just about exporting widgets, it's about connecting businesses and collaborating across the globe. And it's something regionally or particularly locally that's never been done before. So we're really excited about the opportunities that presents to us and our businesses in Bedfordshire. And yeah, that's it, I guess, from me. Happy to take any questions. Right, that's good for me.
Any questions at the moment? They may come up later on, which is absolutely fine. Or if you spring to mind, Jason's waving his hand at me.
Yeah, I've just thanks for that. It's as a company that generally imports stuff rather than doing any exporting at all. Are we seeing a rebirth within manufacturing within Bedfordshire and being able to export now, well, sorry, since the pandemic? I mean, you could say it's carrying on, but has manufacturing come back to the fore more recently to export?
There's still an impact, and that's two main reasons. We're seeing one, obviously, the knock-on effect from the pandemic, but two is international supply chains. So, for instance, we're seeing Vauxhall that can't build Vivaros quick enough. They've actually dropped a shift now because they can't get the chips in to build the vehicles. So that international supply chain and import has had a massive impact. We've still not seen a recovery, even though we're 10 months down the line from Brexit. So that supply chain issues are major. One thing, the positive that we are seeing from that is that organisations are looking to more localise their supply chains and value chains. So there will be opportunities, I think, in manufacturing when things shake themselves out a little, that there will be a view and a look for people to look closer to home than rather importing in from places like China. So there is those definite opportunities as well as the current challenges.
Okay, so with that, do you think that this the pandemic has shown that where we've subcontracted out basically our manufacturing base to the Far East is something which is now been broken, not totally demolished, but broken, and it needs to be reassessed. So it is a more local supply chain, helping companies and having that relationship more on a local basis rather than just shipping it all over to the Far East.
Yeah, absolutely. And we've seen another member. In fact, it's behind me. They produce water bottles, and which
yeah, I know water.
Yeah, it seems really basic, but the technology is all in the IP is all in the filter. But they get those bottles produced in China. Well, they're now looking at a Bedfordshire plastic injection molding company to do that. So there is that onshoring rather than offshoring sentiment. Definitely, we're seeing. So that is good news. We just got to make sure that we have the environment and the connections and placements in place so we can refer those people and put these people together when we're looking for those local supply chains.
Okay. Any more questions for the moment? Or I'll move on. So I'm going to move on quickly now to Growth Hub offering. My name's Sam, and I'm the events officer at the Growth Hub. So I help to run these sorts of events, and I have involvement in our Growth Curve program as well, and our peer networks program, which you're going to hear all about in a moment. Let me just get my presentation. Here we go. So you don't have to look at me. Okay. Can everybody see that? Give me a nod. Yeah. Okay, so first up is sort of our core team of business advisors that are based in the Growth Hub or at the Growth Hub, and there's a team of them, and they all have probably an element of expertise. So we've got experts in marketing. I know Kelly used to work in commercial property, all sorts of finance experts as well. And this is sort of coming from first-hand experience that these people have had in either running their own businesses or working in other businesses in those sectors. And they've brought their expertise to us to help you. So if you have a specific need or challenge and you know you need some specific marketing support, or you need some specific finance support in understanding things like your cash flow and elements of finance like that, we've got some experts in-house that can help you. If there is a situation or a circumstance where we don't have an expert that can help you, we've got plenty of partners that can help you. So people like Justin and his team at the Chambers. We also work with MK Chamber and Northants Chamber as well. We've got relationships with DIT. So if there's exporting and trade challenges that you're facing, we can signpost you to our contacts there. And many others. We work a lot with the banks, so NatWest and their accelerator program as well. So there's a multitude of support available, and I think the best thing about it is that it's all free. And a lot of people don't realise how much access businesses have to that support. So that's sort of our key or core, business advisor team. And you know, it can be an ongoing level of support. So you can have regular meetings with our advisors to follow up on actions and put action plans in place and review that over the next 6 months and things like that. Or it could just be a one-off call. You ring up, you get your hour that you need around marketing, and you go away and you put that into place, and you might not need us for another 12 months, and that's absolutely fine as well. Justin touched on the ARG program, the Additional Restrictions Grant program that we're working on, and that sort of covers what I've listed here as intensive business support program. So as Justin said, it's been a partnership over the last 12 months that colleagues of mine and colleagues at the Chambers have worked tirelessly to put together. And as he said, the Central Beds program has launched. So we can provide you with the link if you want to put in an expression of interest there. And then I think the Luton program and then the Beds program are going to launch in November. I think Luton is looking like the 1st of November, so I'm told. And Beds later on in the month, sort of middle of the month, hopefully. But if you want to sign up to our newsletter, that would be the best place to hear about the launch of those programs and any other programs and grants that we're offering that are coming up in the pipeline. And as Justin said, it's an intensive business support program. It will consist of 3 sessions. So an initial session to outline the challenges you're facing, understand them and put sort of an action plan in place. Then there'll be a mid-term review and then an end of term review as well at the end of the programme. There's the grant funding that goes with that attached to the programme, and that's up to £3,000 of support of grant funding And it can go towards something like minor equipment or bringing in some specialist support that you might need from other experts outside of our remit. It's 100% grant funding, there's no match required, and the only eligibility is that you've been trading, your business has been trading for a year, and that you've been impacted by COVID. So that could be really interesting, and something, if you want to have a look at, we'll provide, as I say, in our follow-up, we'll provide the links to find out a bit more information, and our number and email address is on the bottom of the slides anyway. So if you want to ask any more questions, then don't hesitate to get in touch there. Final one from me is the Growth Curve programme, which I work quite closely on as well. And that is a programme that's been in its second year, going into its third year next year. And we partner with 3 different universities on that one. University of Bedfordshire, University of Northamptonshire and Cranfield University. And we partner with those 3 universities to deliver some masterclass sessions. And those are all based around sort of core elements of running your business. And we tailor each of those, or the university tailors each of those, depending on the businesses that are attending. So if it's a particular focus on marketing challenges or finance challenges, operational, whichever it may be, if there's a real sort of standout challenge for a lot of the businesses that are attending, universities will tailor that support slightly. They still cover a number of topics, but they can do a bit more of a deep dive into certain areas where needed. Ahead of the masterclass, you actually receive a business diagnostic meeting with one of our high growth business advisors. So they're a team that are embedded within the Growth Hub, and they work solely on the Growth Curve programme. And you would be assigned to one of those. You get a 3-hour session prior to the masterclass, and that will actually help the advisor to advise you which masterclasses would be the most beneficial for you. So UON and UOB, we tend to aim towards the businesses that are sort of at the 200k to sort of 400k turnover, and then Cranfield sort of take the businesses that are 500,000 plus, with perhaps 8 to 10 or more employees. They take those ones. So there's the 200k turnover for eligibility on that. You've got to be an SME within the South East Midlands, so between 3 and 250 employees, and an aspiration to grow, ideally, which I'm sure as business owners, everybody wants to grow. So in terms of our first 3 programs, Kelly's going to talk about the next couple, Foundations for Growth and Peer Networks, in a minute. But does anyone have any questions? I've rattled through those. So if anyone has any questions on those, please shout. Not a minute.
I've got a question for you. Over the last 2 years, effectively, a lot of grants we've seen out there are for helping those most impacted businesses, normally propping up cash flow. Do you see going forward, and you might not be able to answer this question, do you see going forward that there's going to be more funding directed in helping actual businesses grow the innovation side of things?
Yeah.
Up?
Yeah, I mean, the Growth Curve programme has a grant element to it, and I'm not entirely sure of the amount left in the pot at the moment. Obviously, we're almost going into year 3 of the programme now, but that pot is not aimed specifically at businesses that have only been impacted by COVID. So I know obviously the ARG programme is, but yeah, the Growth Curve programme isn't specifically aimed at that. And I would hope that, I think the programme is looking at an extension to the end of next year, so about a 6-month extension. And I would hope that if any more funding comes available, that the criteria would remain the same as it has done since the beginning of that programme. So we've got programmes to support businesses that have been impacted by the pandemic. And I think as businesses come out of that and are looking to recover, you know, not every business was affected by it. Some businesses thrived.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. I totally agree. Those that were agile and quick enough to adapt in the early days have we've seen some real success stories. So there's been obviously
huge amount of diversification, isn't there?
Absolutely.
All right, thank you. I'm going to hand over to Kelly now. Kelly's actually one of our business support advisors. So she's going to talk through the Foundations for Growth programme and a little bit about our Peer Networks programme. So over to you, Kelly.
Thank you, Sam. Good morning, everybody. I'm Kelly Bowman. I work as one of the business advisors in the Growth Hub team. So I'm just going to provide you a bit of an overview of a couple of the other programmes that we haven't mentioned as yet. We've got the Foundations for Growth programme, which is a relatively new programme which we've launched. This is aimed at small businesses with an annual turnover of around 50,000 and upwards, have been trading for at least 6 months and are located within the SEMLEP area. What we will do with these businesses is we will provide a diagnostic meeting with them so that we can identify any challenges that the business is having, and look at bridging any gaps, so looking at opportunities. We will then work with those organisations, create an action plan to take forward and act as a facilitator, making sure that the business is aware of, there could be some webinars, some useful webinars, there could be various training courses to help them with their development, but also help to bridge those gaps going forward. And we will continue to work with those companies and hopefully on board onto some of the other programs as the company begins to grow. So lots of hand holding and support with those organisations. Another one of our programs that we're currently delivering is the Peer Network programme. So this program is also fully funded, and it consists of small cohorts of businesses or business leaders which attend regular sessions with trained facilitators over a period of about 6 weeks. Each session covers key themes, including management and leadership, finance, marketing. They'll have the opportunity to meet other like-minded businesses and talk about challenges and opportunities, share knowledge. So the programme is suitable for businesses who have aspirations to build the business back following the impacts of COVID, adapt themselves and diversify for supporting their future resilience and growth, improve productivity, adapt the business post EU exit, any challenges that they're having there, and identify new markets as well. So the eligibility criteria for this one is if you're based in Northamptonshire, Bedfordshire, Milton Keynes, if you've been operating for at least a year, employing 5 employees or more, and have an annual turnover of 100,000 upwards. You might want to take advantage of this programme. As I say, it's fully funded. It's a really good opportunity to develop your own skills and meet other like-minded businesses. So if you would like any more information, obviously get in touch with either myself or one of my team members at the Growth Hub. There's also an area on our website where you can complete an expression of interest if you just wanted to go and do that. That's all on the website. So that's kind of just a bit of a snapshot of that particular programme, but happy to go into a bit more detail afterwards if you'd like to make contact. But I'm going to pass you over to Jason Stephen, who is from Springfield Business Solutions. He has experienced Peer Network firsthand, so he would be a really good person to listen to in terms of from the business's perspective. But if you have any other questions, please ask.
Thank you, Kelly. Good morning, all. David, just a quick one. I've introduced very quickly to Tony earlier. I know he's from Action Coach. David, which business are you from?
I'm from Action Coach.
You're from Action Coach as well?
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got Action Coaches galore. So you will love what we did on the peer group.
Great, good.
Sam, have we got those slides? I'm going to go a little bit off piste from the slides, if you don't mind, because I thought that there might be a different mix of people. So that's my mistake. So please excuse my mistake. So Sam, can you just go straight on to slide number 2, please? Okay, so you might have to do some clicking. If you click all the way through, let's get them all out there. Okay, so just going back to March 2020, as we all know, no, go back.
Sorry.
That's it. As we all know, it was a bit of a nightmare, and Boris and the government decided to shut everything down. I think it was the 23rd of March. And basically our business was supplying office supplies, your day-to-day office supplies into businesses. So 90% of all office people went home and stayed at home. So we had to change a little bit, and we had to change on our feet, and we had to be very agile and start supplying. Well, we didn't start supplying, we were supplying it already. So we're supplying PPE, hand sanitizer, nitrile gloves, face masks, etc., etc. We were supplying all of those already. So when people say that we diversified, I don't believe we actually did diversify. We had that in our armour already. We just didn't promote it enough until it actually come to a pandemic, and then all of a sudden everybody went, "Oh, do you sell this?" We went, "Yes." And just to give you an idea of how mad the world was at that time, at the start of the pandemic, a 5-litre bottle of alcohol hand gel was selling on the market for £16 for 5 litres. At the height, and this is going to the end of April, at the height, we were selling that bottle for £115. So in 6 weeks, it was 6 weeks. 6 weeks, the market changed massively. The supplies from China weren't coming in, because China, all they were doing was supplying face masks for the whole world and other PPE products. So it was an absolute nightmare. So we just sold what we could sell to whoever was open and whoever was willing to listen to us. So in that circumstance, everybody in our office, they all went home as well. So I was the only one going into the office. I was there by myself, from an office of 5 people to all of a sudden an office of 1. No warehouse. The warehouse we were using only for emergencies only, so supplying care homes, because we weren't allowed to actually go out and deliver to just normal businesses. We could only go for emergencies, what they classed as necessities. So I was there by myself, and it was really nice at the very beginning, but after about 5 days, and I'm like Tigger on speed. So I needed people to interact with, and I had nobody. So I had all this isolation. Then as time moved on and China was still producing PPE for the whole of the country, for the whole of the world, and containers of PPE was arriving in docks all over the world, we were just hit with massive supply chain issues. And this started, I would say, in the summer of 2020. This didn't happen in 2021. This happened all the way back to then, and it started then. And then the government told us that we were going to bounce back. Well, nobody went back to the office. So we were left with not a lot. So we were still supplying. We were supplying office furniture. We were supplying PPE. We were supplying the wonderful Perspex screens that you see on counters. We were doing all of that stuff, but somebody took away 80% of our business, which was the general office supplies. At this point, I had a phone call from SEMLEP, and SEMLEP gave me a phone call to say, "Would you like to come on? We're just about to launch a peer group session, and it's free. You meet all the criteria because of the size of your business, etc. Would you like to go on it?" So I said, "Yes, of course. I would love to know what the rest of the world is going through at this moment in time." So Sam, can we just click on to the next one? Thank you. So we were the guinea pigs because we were cohort number 1, and it was hilarious, absolutely hilarious, because we had a group of people and also the facilitators that actually, we all understood that we were in a unique situation, and within that unique situation, we all had our own issues and problems, but we were all in the same boat. So, and we needed help. So can we just go back to that number 3? So the main reason why I did it was that I needed to have that interaction. I also have a major problem, which is, and it's a problem for my business, and that is that I suffer from a disease called I'll do it Tourette's. So if anything needs doing, I'll do it. Anything needs doing. It doesn't matter whether it's taking the bins out, whether it's wiping down a desk, or whether it's opening the front door for another member of staff, I'll do it. So within the group, there was a few sufferers from the same disease. What we were able to do is we turned this into a kind of counselling session for all of us to be able to bounce ideas off each other and how do we cope with this. And that network that we created was invaluable. And with the facilitators there enabling us to kind of like, we drove it, they facilitated, and it was fantastic that that was the way it worked. We did have experts come in about finance, about leadership, etc. But the facilitators really did turn it around and enabled us to actually drive the learning that we all got it from it forward. The biggest thing I got out of it in terms of solution for us and the business was that I've not quite ditched that superhero cape, and I still have a bit of I'll do it Tourette's, but the way that I've changed in terms of delegating and allowing people to grow rather than me limiting their growth because I would always take over. That's been probably the biggest thing that I've learned from it, I would say. It's also enabled me from the course to be able to put in place a very simple but very effective business plan. And that's the very last course date, we have to put forward a 90-day business plan. Well, that 90-day business plan is actually, we've expanded it out to actually a 3-year business plan. And so myself and my wife who own the business, we have put this, we've started to put it in place. The rebranding exercise is going on, the infrastructure, etc., etc. But yeah, I can't say anything more about the peer networks. Was just absolutely fantastic. Love it to bits. So that's very quickly for you two, Tony and David, being coaches. What do you think you would get out of going to peer networks?
Well, for me, it'd be just about making people aware of what we do and how we potentially, well, how we change people's lives, you know, in businesses, and explaining, you know, what we offer, and you know, just putting ourselves forward, you know, within people, you know.
So as action coach, because you have your own areas, don't you?
Yes, that's right.
Around the country. Action coach is a great brand name, and I love the colours blue and red because that's the same as ours. But you're actually your own business owners as well, aren't you?
Well, I'm not. No, I'm a business development manager.
Okay.
Mark Dilks owns the local franchise, and he owns the largest franchise actually in the UK. He's got 5 territories. So yeah, for me, it's about networking, building relationships, and making people aware about us and what we do. And then if someone's interested, if someone needs the help, wants to grow, explaining, you know, what we do, the process, and ultimate goal is obviously trying to obtain business, but also, you know, we're there to help business owners as well.
So very much like the peer network is geared to help business owners and very senior managers of larger people to actually just put things in order. And I think the pandemic, especially during the lockdown, people kind of went into a different universe, whereas actually they needed to be helped to be dragged back into this universe and actually face up to what was happening around them and actually deal with it. And I think that was very, if anything, the peer network should be actually expanded out to all businesses, and every business should actually get on it, because it will help them in one way or another. Even if they only take one bit out of it, it will help them.
Exactly.
And I suppose that's where Action Coach comes from, is actually if you get one good thing out of a meeting, then it's
worth it.
It's worth it. Every day's a school day.
That's right, exactly. Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
any questions from anybody else?
Yeah, Jason, yeah, I've got one. So you saw a profound impact on the business going forward. Did you see that have an impact on you as a person and as a leader, manager, or owner of the business personally?
Yeah, so yeah, two things there. First one, impact within the business, which is rather than jumping in with the decision too quickly, is waiting for others to come up with suggestions. And that's that I'll do it Tourette's kind of quick. And one of my mantras for business has always been the worst decision you can make in business is no decision. So sometimes that overtakes, so then I'm too quick to give an answer. So that's allowing others to make those decisions has been the big thing within work. Personal life, I'm not working 16, 17-hour days anymore. So I'm back. I've actually limited that back down to, I won't go in the office any earlier than 8:30 in the morning now, and I make sure that I'm out of the office by 6 o'clock. So home life now, I eat with my wife and youngest daughter who's still at home, but also spending valuable time with my grandson as well. So yeah, loads better.
Yeah, it's good. Better for your
Profound
health.
impact. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Excellent. I think that's brilliant, Jason. Thank you ever so much for joining us and talking us through your experiences, because I think there's nothing better than hearing it firsthand. We can, promote it and try and sell it, if you like, as much as we want, but hearing it firsthand from a business that has actually done it and has reaped the rewards and benefits from it, from a program that's completely fully funded, just speaks volumes, I think.
Yeah.
So thank you for that, Jason.
Thank you.
If anyone has any more questions, then please feel free to ask away. And while you have a think about that, I'm just going to pop on my slide again, just to quickly show you a couple of the upcoming events that talk through these programs specifically in a bit more detail. So on the 4th of November, we've got a Peer Networks event, the Ingredients for Success. And that is, like I say, goes into peer networks in quite a bit more detail. It's we're working with the other growth hubs across the Oxford-Cambridge arc on this event. And you'll hear from businesses that have done peer networks either in our region or in other regions across the arc as well. We're also being joined there by a lady called Candice Brown, who is a previous Bake Off winner. And she also owns a business in the area just outside Woburn. She's got a pub. And she's going to be talking about her experiences of collaborating with other businesses, working with her peers, how she's supported other businesses through peer networking as well. And then on the 16th of November, so a few weeks later, we have an actual face-to-face event, which is our first face-to-face event since pre-COVID, which is quite exciting. And it's going to be held over at the Innovation Centre, so where our offices are over at Cranfield. And that one's called Business Growth Tips and Tricks. That is a growth curve sort of specific session. And that is a little deep dive into what you can expect to hear about, talk about, learn about in the masterclasses with Cranfield. So we've got Martin, who's one of the facilitators, very, very engaging guy. He's going to be delivering a little mini taster masterclass over at our offices at the Innovation Centre on the 16th of November. So if you fancy hearing a bit more about what that's all about, going into a bit more detail, our high growth business advisors will also be there. So if you want to talk to them about potentially joining the programme, looking at having a business diagnostic done with them, that is the time and the place to join us for that. So again, just once again, I'm just going to say thank you, Justin, Jason and Kelly for joining us today. I hope it's been useful and you've picked up, a bit more about what we do and the support available to you. That, as I say, I keep saying it, it's fully funded. You don't have to pay for it. It is free support, and there's just so much of it available from us and Justin at the Chamber. So thank you very much.